which means Coach Payton would have to go at least 500 in 2015 to surpass Jim Mora. When'd you get in? This coming season. We'll see if that happens. I suspect there's a good chance that it will. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv. So glad you've joined us. And of course, speaking of the Saints, calendar year is moving up quickly. The draft coming up, combine taking place as we speak, and the Saints have a lot of work to do where the salary cap is concerned. Just a couple of weeks to get it pared down to where it needs to be. Mickey Loomis has said all along that he can get it done. It's not as bad as last year. He's going to have to do it. So let's take a look at some of the Saints roster scenario as we speak. And when you look at the bonuses due in 2015, Brian, there's some big numbers. And you start at the top because I still maintain that that's a player that in all likelihood is not going to be here. The Saints, in fact, coming out and saying they're not happy with his leadership last year, and they're still not happy with what happened with the case that just got dismissed. Your thoughts?
Well, Kenny, I tell you what, I agree totally with you. This is a guy that's probably in limbo right now, and a lot of it's going to have to, well, I don't even think that the court case, they're going to have to make a decision by March the 10th, I believe it is, whether or not he's going to be on their roster or not, at least get that kind of salary, get that kind of bonus. So I'm with you, Kenny. I think, and one, from a cap standpoint, is an easy cut, okay? You have a built-in reason for the very reasons Kenny mentioned. If you don't like his performance, if you think he's being paid too much for a mistake that you made, this is the time to correct it right now.
Well, when they start questioning his leadership on the field, I'm not talking about what happened off the field.
Yeah.
That's a sure sign.
Right, absolutely. And he didn't step up. He said some things that really makes you wonder about his reasoning and his thought process. You don't say the kind of things that Junior said. And again, we've all expressed our kind and our interest in Junior. We think he's a good guy, but you can't act like that.
Well, I think that aside from what we're talking about of the off-season distractions, that you're hearing, and it's very little coming out of Sean Payton, but the one thing that you are hearing is that he's looking for leadership roles. That is really about the only thing that is coming out, is that they're evaluating leadership potential for who they have on that roster. And if that is the qualification that stands at the top of his list, then without a doubt, I think Junior Galette does not make the cut.
Ricky, too many veteran players left at one time on defense, and it left them with a vacuum for leadership. Curtis Lofton would be the only guy that might qualify in that realm. And Jarvis Bird might have been, but he got hurt. So clearly, that is something they absolutely must address.
Well, I mean, just looking at the whole roster right there, what you see, the bonus coming to those guys, Jimmy Graham about the only guy that you can say that really, deserve a look. And I mean, he's been hurt a lot, and a lot of times he don't perform like we want him to, but he's a stud. But the rest of them, you can kind of get around that. I mean, that's a whole lot of money to get guys that there's a lot out there you can get better and cheaper.
Well, I mentioned Bird and Lofton. They're both do big roster bonuses too, Ricky. So when you look at that situation, are all these guys going to be here? And if not, who's gone?
Well, I mean, those guys, you got to go try to get them to restructure. I mean, if they don't restructure, then you let them go. Because there's so much younger guys, so much many players out there you can get that can do what they do a lot cheaper.
Well, let's take a look at the rest of the numbers in terms of bonuses that are due so we get a better understanding of what we're dealing with here. Galette, Bird, there you see Jimmy Graham. Of course, you knew about that. There's Lofton at $4.5, and David Hawthorne, ouch, $2.5 million. So you look at that numbers, you can pay them, you can turn them into signing bonuses. Brian, what do you do here?
And look, and there's the big elephant in the room that we need to bring up too, is that you've got Drew Brees, who's got a heavy cap number, okay, and he's due a major base salary of his own. I still contend that you've got to do something with his salary, but those are easy fixes if you ask me, and Ricky's exactly right. You ask them to restructure if that's your plan. If they don't, adios amigo, and you go find somebody else that does. At a price that you want. And this is a way to fix your team. And they're obviously in a rebuilding mode here, okay? This is not retooling, in my opinion, anymore. That window is it's closed, almost, okay? There's a little gap there. But they have got to end up, if Sean Payton's gonna finish out his contract, they've got to make tremendous decisions this offseason.
Well, but you keep talking about the restructuring, and yet there hasn't been a whole lot of movement of any players seeming very willingly to give up any money. You know, just the headlines now that it looks like that they've had conversation after conversation trying to get Jari Evans to restructure his deal, and looks like he's saying no, and Grubbs may be with him. So if you're dealing with that kind of situation, you know, it goes back to a conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago, that if you look at other championship teams, you have players on those teams that are genuinely willing to do what is necessary to win football games. Tom Brady being the prime example. He does what is necessary, regardless of how you feel about Brady as a player. He wants to win championships. Well, if that be the case, you have a team that did what it did last year. Do what is necessary to be competitive. I mean, we talk about Peyton going 8-8. Well, the way that they're thinking right now, that seems like a stretch.
All right, Ricky. So the one guy on that list that looks like it might be a fairly easy call is David Hawthorne.
Yeah, I mean, all of them. I mean, you know, but like I said, Graham would be the only one that I would be considered keeping at the bonus that he's supposed to get. But, you know, the whole team, man, the way the record ended up last year, I mean, all them guys need to reconstruct or do something to try to stay here.
All right, now let's turn to our capologist and pseudo general manager Brian Alley Walsh to figure out just how we're going to get where you need to get within a couple of weeks to be satisfying league rules. Brian, take it away.
Thank you, Doctor. I'm sure Mickey Loomis is glad to hear that I'm taking over for in his role for the moment. Well, look, if you're looking, Mark Ingram is another guy, a running back that he's a free agent, okay? And I assume that they're going to talk to him if they already haven't made him an offer, and he's going to go out and take a look at what the market bears, all right? In the event that they can't come to some kind of conclusion, some kind of an agreement, what do the Saints do? There's a couple options here. One, you can go out and get a mid-tier kind of free agent. You know, Ahmad Bradshaw now looks like he's in some suspension trouble, okay? My guy, I love Shane Vereen, okay, off the Patriots. I love this guy. He would fit beautifully.
He wouldn't leave.
I know he wouldn't leave, but he would fit beautifully into the Saints off. But I tell you what, I really do think that the way Sean and Mickey look at the running back situation is that they've done a good job of bringing in lower-priced, undrafted players for that matter, okay? And they can kind of deal with it and maybe go out and sign another, even a lower range guy for a running back.
All right, Vereen, yes. Bradshaw, no. Vereen's not going anywhere. Right. So with that in mind, you can keep Bradshaw. Let's take a look at the defensive side, Brian, and what you might look at here and some of the guys that are out there that you think would be worth looking at.
Well, if you believe Sean Payton, and I do, okay, and all teams are looking for edge rushes, okay? I like the top three, Arapko, Graham, and Wirls. Now, they're going to command top dollar. Anytime that you have a good pass rusher, they're going to command top dollar. So you got to make sure that you got enough cap room to go get these guys. If you get rid of Junior Gillette, which I suspect they may do, you're going to come across some money. Sean Payton is looking for some interior guys. These are my three guys, Redding, Piella, and Williams, all right? And then, obviously, a linebacking position is an area that I think that they should always address under Sean Payton. Those are three guys as well. And then cornerback, whether you get him in the draft or free agency, you've got to shore up that position.
All right, and with regard to Tremont Williams, you might get a hometown discount. He's from Donaldsonville,
right.
So maybe there's a shot there, Ricky, when you know, they kind of got that with Keenan Lewis, didn't they?
Yeah, and I tell you what, Lewis did a great job since he's been here, but you need more than one corner these days. When they playing 6 defensive backs and 5 defensive backs all the time, you need to get you some cover guys, some guys that you can lay your hat on that. You know, it ain't going to be a 1-2 yard route and the guy go for a touchdown. So you need some good cornerbacks out there.
Kenny, the key to all this is you got to have cap room, okay? They have got to make some really tough decisions over the next, if they haven't already,
right.
Okay? They've got to make tough decisions.
Right, otherwise they're shopping at Kmart rather than at Saks Fifth Avenue.
Right.
So that's basically what you're dealing with. And we, of course, are so privileged to be presented by Premier Automotive. We would like to thank Troy Duhan and the entire Premier Automotive Group family for supporting the community. Premier Toyota of New Orleans at 13150 I-10 Service Road in New Orleans East, just off of Bullard. Visit the website at toyotaneworleans.com and stay tuned for Toyota's special deals throughout the show. Back to talk NFL and the Combine when we continue on Sports NOLA TV.